Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I want to say hello to a few people: CP Cosplay, Phoenix, Carrie. I believe there was one other person in here a moment ago talking. I may miss their name, but Oreo, thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank you, everybody, for joining me and supporting me. Please leave a like, all the normal that a uh, creator will do. Like, subscribe, and we'll see where as I'm building this channel and see where what can come of it. Hello, cosplay. Can you guys hear me okay? My volume levels all right. I've been having problems with it in the past, but I think I got it figured out tonight. Uh, oh yes, and hit that bell, of course. Thank you, Carrie, very much. Um, so tonight, I titled tonight as being great. Thank you, Phoenix. I titled tonight as being back to day zero, and we're going to get to day zero in a moment. It's day zero is not only the moment that summer went missing, but the moments of that day that led up to summer being got gone. As many times of that has that phrase been said and related to other cases, including this one, where a child has gone missing. But as always, I like to start off the night with my top 5 things. These are news stories that are either have within the past week or since I went live last have caught my attention, and for various reasons. Some will be explained, and some don't have to be explained. It's just it's very current. Everybody will know exactly what it is. First one is going to be Lori Daybell, arraigned and pled not guilty today. Hello, Lisa. Welcome back, and thank you again for coming and joining us. Lori Daybell, arraigned and pled not guilty today. Of course, that is of course related to uh, her kids being murdered and buried in their backyard. Her and Chad Daybell. My number 2 story is going to be Barry Morphew. Charges were dropped today without prejudice. The court's filing cited a mistake in discovery by the prosecution that has made it impossible for half of their experts to testify, and they decided to drop charges at this time and with ability to file at a later time. A very disturbing, and please, when I say very disturbing, this is a general trigger warning for the whole entire evening. Okay. I do a lot of commentary on news stories. I'm not quoting the exact sources. This is just commentary on a news story. There's a news story from Abilene, Texas. CPS there stepped in and removed a 10-year-old from their stepmom, Marcela Ortiz, and Jesus Sanchez. After a medical examination, the 10-year-old is reported to have 0% body fat, and an 8-year-old sibling also in that residence did not look to be in much better condition. It was described to be he was described to be extremely thin and very little muscle tone. The stepmother and father of the children were arrested earlier yesterday and released on a $20,000 bail. The unnamed children were reportedly being denied food as a form of punishment. Mutt Dog, how are you doing? Another mystery story that's going on right now. and this broke on April 16th, but is getting very little to no press coverage from what I have found, except for regional. And I think this is something again that deserves to be brought onto a national scene. Washington County, Indiana, just south of Indianapolis. Someone out walking and hunting for wild mushrooms, the legal kind, had discovered a suitcase that was very colorful and had the infamous sign of Las Vegas on the uh, uh, on the on the suitcase. And in that suitcase was what police believe to be a 5 to 8 year old little boy that is deceased. Washington County, Indiana is looking for any and all help with finding out who this child belonged to. But the reports are that he was well taken care of. That this child was well taken care of and belonged to somebody that is not reported him missing. Yes. Only between 5 and 8 years old is the estimated of age on this little boy. And a regional story to me, which I've kind of paid attention to, is drawing no attention whatsoever, except for very seldom local news media. Is Paul Beard. Trial has been finally set to take place on September 27th and 28th, with jury selection being on September 26th. Paul Beard is a story not far different from being Evelyn Boswell or Summer Wells. He is suspected of murdering his 4-month-old infant, injuring her on, I believe it was her, on September 13th, who succumbed to the injuries on September 18th. And that was back in 2019. So that is 5 stories that are not either national or not in the national headline. And stories that are going to be very interesting to follow and find out what the outcome is. So again, the reason I called this Back to Day Zero, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to mention this particular channel, but to say they act like farm animals on this particular channel. Actually, it's 2 channels all encompassed together. I try not to do drama, folks, and please understand that I'm struggling with mentioning this channel altogether, except for what I have mentioned. And if you've been paying attention to Summer Wells or Rose Bly in the past 24 hours, you'll know exactly who this channel is, or these 2 channels are. The channel that I'm mainly focused on with this has come out and said that Rose Bly, who is the aunt of Summer Wells. Thank you, Carrie. I know you're very strongly and wisely opinionated on this, so I appreciate that. Has been missing since 2009. And understand, I will make you'll understand my path of getting back to Summer Wells and being day zero for her in just a moment. There is something, a defect within this family. I strongly believe that there's a defect within this family where, for the most part, when it comes to the women in the family, they celebrate androgyny. They promote androgyny. And the every once in a while where a woman pops up in their lineage that has more traditional to society beauty details, the high cheekbones, the more slender feminine look. Uh, that person gets shunned from the family, and and the with the outside of Chris Larson, who was Rose Bly's husband, nobody else. It was almost as if every time a woman comes up in their family lineage that has the more socially accepted or as beauty, that something happens to them. And this is not just Summer Wells. This is not just Rose Bly. This is generational. This is a generational defect. And then honestly, this is my purely my opinion. All right. But Rose, that it was is an aunt. I don't know how, or I don't know. Yes, exactly, Phoenix. Thank you very much. No, the filter remark was more towards the channel that Carrie and I were actually talking about before, who in being last night and partly today before I went live are still sticking to, even though they're backpedaling some, from saying that Rose Bly is not has not met her demise. She's actually still missing, and they found proof that she's missing and alive. When it very strongly is believed that Rose um, um, uh, has met her demise. Now, whether or not you believe the rumor of where she is, so that I'm not going to get into, but to say this is what happened with Rose Bly. She went out, and the place that she was going to be going was 5 miles away from her where she lived. However, she never came home. She never made it to her destination. And the location that her vehicle was found, I believe was 5 days later, was 30 miles in the opposite direction. Okay. Mud Dog, thank you very much. I don't mind anybody voicing their opinion, so please don't hesitate to hold back. It's fine with me. That's where I'm going to leave the whole story with Rose Bly at. And my connection to them is not only that um, they have a family lineage, a genealogy lineage attachment, but it's odd, extremely odd, that two individuals that have similar facial features. If you look at what their face, the bone structure of their face, yes, in some lights, when you look at Summer, you do see a lot of Don Wells. But when you take a picture of Rose and put it next to Summer, you'll see a lot more Rose in Summer. My dog, I appreciate you looking out for me. I appreciate that greatly. But this is opinion, and I do this. I'm doing when I'm doing this out of commentary, which is part of fair use. So as long uh, as long as we're not disparaging that story or trying to interfere with the police investigation, there's no harm or foul. No, but when the interview, I'm going to answer this question. It's not that I know of. Um, not that I know of. There's no picture of Rose sleeping on milk jugs. However, if you looked at the Chris McDonough when he had been shown the house for on Ben Hill Road, one of the things that was pointed out was by Candace was a photo or a painting of Rose Bly hanging on the wall, and it's one of the only pictures that were ever on a wall in that house. But day zero, for Summer Wells, and and in as horrible of a circumstance this may be, in how disgusting of a circumstance this may be found by others, it was typical for Summer to sleep in the same bed as her dad and her mom. It is reported by Don Wells that that morning he woke up for work and Summer was in the bed and he had to move her to get out of bed and get ready for work. The events of the day, the morning, were that Lisa, you're right. Thank you very much for that. Um, that's what's strange about Rose Bly story, in this person that has come out and saying that they are Rose Bly. But going back to Summer, the day zero events, after they had gotten up, there was a car, truck stuck in the ditch off of Ben Hill Road on Beach Creek that ended up needing police involved to pull the vehicle out of the ditch. Now, this is a red truck. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it is the red truck that the FBI reported that was in the neighborhood that they are looking for. But this is a red truck that was on Beach Creek Road. And locals, Carrie, do you mind if I say? Carrie, do you mind if I say? Hang on, let me ask Carrie. Okay, Carrie is actually a person that lives in the area, not very far away from the area, like myself. Um, where I'm not going to give away the details. I know the general idea of where she lives, but I'm not going to say any more than that. Um, I live about a 20-minute drive from Ben Hill Road. And so the idea of this property, I've described this before as being a horse farm. And I'm going to go into that detail a little bit in just a moment. But I want to focus more on keep focusing on the property, the Ben Hill Road property, and the area around Beach Creek. Beach Creek Road is a street I would say is a pass through street. It's a back road. You're going to take it, and your intent is you're going to turn off at some point, and you're going to get on a main road. But you're just avoiding lights and a bunch of lights and a bunch of traffic. Is Beach Creek Road, Ben Hill Road, and the property that the Wells lived on. You would not find unless you were looking for it. You had some sort of business there, or you got lost and were looking for a place to turn around. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. We'll get into that in a moment. I want to focus on the morning events. The So after the issue with the vehicle that was in the ditch was resolved, and Don Wells supposedly was out of that area, there's a very significant event that is happening or a piece of information that's happening at this time, and that is that Don Wells took the Subaru. On that particular day, Don Wells took the Subaru. Thank you, Carrie. Carrie is a kind of like with me. She is a person that actually has, since I don't drive, she's actually been there and has shared insight about that area that I may not normally have. So, Ben Hill Road, and the way that he would, Don Wells would have gone to work, there's three possible ways to go. He can either catch 81, which is down the backside of the around the backside of the mountain. He would have take Beach Creek Road and turn off, and I can't remember the exact road name, but there's a way to get onto 81 back on the backside of the mountain, on the backside of their property, but you can't get to there from their property or Ben Hill Road. And then you have to go into downtown Kingsport again. You're going to get on to 81. But this is where it varies a little bit, where you're backtracking back on 81. He's going back past the backside of his property. This is a direct way. There's another way where he can go down I-26, which would take him into Johnson City. And through Johnson City, he can get to where he was working. The quickest route is going to be going the back roads, then getting on 81, not going into Kingsport to get on 81 or get on 26 from there. The I-26 and I-81 are the roads I'm referring to. Meanwhile, while he is doing that and allegedly going to get something to eat for breakfast, but there is no receipts from him paying cash or a credit card for some food that morning, the day is starting on Ben Hill Road. The first item of the day is to take the grandmother to the hospital, which is in Kingsport. So the hospital they went to is about a 25-minute drive into downtown area. So it doesn't make sense for them to go down to downtown area, drop Candy, the grandmother, however you wish to refer her as, drop her off at the hospital, and then come all the way back down to have to make another trip back into Kingsport. because where they live is actually closer to Rogersville, or Churchill rather, which is just outside of Rogersville in Hawkins County, than it is to Kingsport. Now, it's not a very far distance or very big trip locally around here. That's a common trip, but it's still going to be a trip that you're going to make in part of other things that you have to get done that day. Originally, they were going to go fishing. They were decided to go pick up H. Hunter, which is a cousin of Summers. And this is where it starts to get a little wonky. Beyond Don Wells going to work, this is where it starts to really get a little wonky. Supposedly, while they were Grandis or Candy was in the hospital getting her knee checked out, they had gone to a swimming hole. This is not a swimming hole. This is not a swimming hole that most pictures would normally go to. What's this picture of? I'm curious what this picture is of, because you guys are talking about a picture, and if I can tell you where or take a look at it, I'd be more than happy to tell you how it fits in, from my understanding. But we're at the point where this starts to get a little wonky. So it's understandable that they were planning to go fishing that day. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and show the picture. Um, so that day, we're picking up Hunter. They're at the point where they're picking up Hunter to go supposedly go fishing at for this time. Now, I think it's a very big important thing to take note of what the weather around this area was at that point. It had been hot earlier in the week for that time of year. It had hit, I believe, 86, 88 degrees. And yes, the picture. Okay, there we go, Carrie. Thank you. Um, that is correct. He did ask the police officer if he could take a picture of the vehicle in the ditch, because that day. So going back to the weather, earlier in that week, it had hit 86, 88 degrees, which for summer time, um, that's early June. That's actually a little warm for this area. Now, this past winter has been a little bit wonky. Usually, it's we've had some cold spells, but it's not been consistently cold for a winter. We've had some decent, okay snowstorms, but nothing that was typical. And that happens a lot in this area, where either warm weather will get trapped in the valley, because we are between two different mountain chains for the majority of the area. And Kingsport itself is divided into four sections, mostly by the mountains, also by the highways. Some sections you actually have to take the highway to get to a point in another part of Kingsport. It's not that they Can't build roads. It's just more convenient and easy since the roads are already built for the interstate. Jump on the interstate, get to this road, jump off, and go to that location. The downtown area of Kingsport, the river that runs through the downtown area, where they had went swimming, or supposedly had originally going to go fishing and ended up going swimming. It's not an area in which most people would go swimming. In fact, it's actually discouraged in that area. There's a small trail that goes back behind some stables for the house horses, and with the park being there, it's not uncommon for people to go and take their horses on a walk through the park in that area. This is also in an industrial area in part. The largest employer in Kingsport is in that area. And it's a beautiful park area, Warrior State Park. Down river further from where they had gone swimming, and on the opposite side was a better area to go swimming. It's off, not far off of where a boat ramp is, and there's some local businesses, the restaurants, a playground, things to actually do other than just go swimming at that location. So the location that they chose to go swimming is very curious within itself. They wanted some sort of seclusion. And let's not forget, this is still morning. This is I'm going to say this is we don't have a detailed timeline of when this happened. So I'm estimating personally, I am estimating that this is going to be no later than 10 o'clock in the morning. It is still cool at that time of the day. The high for that day is only going to be 81 degrees. So this being June 15th. So it's not a hot day. The water is not even going to be really a warm temperature that you would want to go swimming. Because if you go beyond those few days I mentioned before where it had gotten up to 86, 88 degrees, it was still mostly in the 60s and 70s. And what I'm building this up to is to understand that them going swimming at this location alone is very curious. Right. Exactly, Carrie. Carrie's got exactly my point. She chose a secluded but nasty area. And in fact, this area is not policed. This area is not maintained as far as any sort of trash pickup, removal, or anything like that. There was trash that was there for weeks after Summerhead went missing at this location, and was shown on the video that the interview room had done in when they had shown this area that they went swimming in. Hello, Rhonda, and thank you for joining us. And so the point of this, the point is that this is not a area that you would normally think about going to go swimming. Shallow water, rocky, a lot of roots that are going out into the water. It's not the area you would want to go. I could tell you and point out on a map there are about 3 other locations, while all of them not convenient to them being downtown Kingsport that day. that are a much better or much more well um, uh, uh, maintained. While they were there, they finally got the phone call that they were waiting for, that the grandmother was done at the hospital. That she was checked out and she had gotten prescriptions for her knee. A little bit of from they needed to get filled at Walgreens. They ran other errands downtown, including going to a vape shop, which is just a few blocks away from where they were and the hospital is. All these different locations would only take about a 5 to 10 minute drive to get to from the Walgreens, which is around the corner, 2 blocks down, 3 blocks down from the hospital. And please understand, the reason I'm presenting it like this, is I want to present it to you as a story, because sometimes it gets so bogged down in the little details of this, that, or the other, that overlook the big picture here. And that's what I want to focus on, is the big picture of what day zero is. So from there, they ran a few events, a few uh, errands, mainly the visit to the pharmacy and the visit to the um, the vape shop was the primary largest ones that were mentioned. And I have a thought about that. These are the two places that, while Hunter was with, that is known that Hunter was with the Candace, with Summer, with Candy or Grandis, that would have had surveillance videos. So Hunter being there is not just a way of identifying that the day happened, but it's also proof of life beyond what was on video, was caught on video camera, that Summer was alive on the 15th. Think about that for a second. Hunter's purpose of being there was not to go fishing, not to go swimming, but it was to present proof of life that Summer was alive and they were there on the 15th. The only mention of food that day, for that day, was a trip to Sonic in which they got gotten slushies. That would have happened after them going to the vape shop, the smoke shop, it's also referred to as, and is on at this point in the time when they're at the vape shop, they're on the southern side of Kingsport, and where Sonic is located is off of 11E, which is on the north side of Kingsport. Now, again, granted, it's only a 5 minute trip, 10 minutes tops to get to this location. But after you taking a child to go swimming that day and you're running errands around town, which will include going grocery shopping as they're headed back to home, why would you not get the child a cheeseburger, chicken nuggets, instead of them being hungry from swimming and running around and being a kid, to being in a grocery store, seeing all this food and asking, can I have this? Can I have that? Can we get this? Cosplay, you're exactly right. Cosplay, you're exactly right. That is part of the theory of what I believe happened that day. Just my thought, my opinion. I know nothing of what actually happened other than what's been released in the news. But this is exactly what I think was the purpose of Hunter or H being there that day. Some of the places that they had gone was age restricted. If at that time, let's not forget, we just are the pandemic, the illness that everybody couldn't go into places. You couldn't bring everybody into Walgreens to go to the pharmacy. Walgreens was drive through only. Drop it off. Tell them to take about half hour, 35 minutes, and we'll call you or text you when it's ready. Come back through the drive-through to pick it up. That's not going to serve the purpose of having a proof of life of somebody sitting in the back seat of a truck. The vape shop, the smoke shop, did not permit anybody under the age of 21, I believe it is, to enter into the facility. So even if with the parent in a parent, their policy was nobody without proof that they're over 21. Sonic, sure, they're going to have some surveillance cameras, but the focus isn't going to be on what somebody's eating in a car or a truck. And then to go there to get slushies, that's not going to be very long to show that she was alive or in the back seat very well. So the grocery store that they went to is not a very big grocery store. When you consider that you have Walmart, Supercenters, you have Winn-Dixie, Food City, there's some discount grocery stores in the area as well. This is more of along the lines of this is a discount grocery store. It's not the most expensive. It's not high end. It's not that the product is bad. It's more of a no frills grocery store. They're going to have name brand products. They're going to have that some people just don't believe that a no frills brand name of a chain store would be. They're going to have those kind of things, but it's not like they're going to have a huge supply of stuff either. And the store, the surveillance system that they have are going to be more focused on the cashiers and the tills than it is going to be focused on somebody walking around the store. Carrie, that's actually an excellent point. And beyond them getting slushies that day, why didn't they get a burger, chicken nuggets? Sonic's not expensive, not horribly expensive. Sure, it's a nice treat for a vehicle that doesn't have air conditioning to be running around as it warms up in that day of the day to get something cold to drink, the slushy. This, mind you, this after a supposed incident that there being a sun-kissed bottle sitting on the back seat that Summer was corrected not to drink from because it was old. So after they finish with the grocery store, they drop Hunter off. Summer's fallen asleep while the adults were in the grocery store, and Hunter and Summer had stayed out in the truck. From there, when she had fallen asleep. She was not on the milk jugs originally, but when Hunter was dropped off, he propped Summer up on the milk jugs. By this time of the day, and they had done that, and they had returned to their home, their property on Ben Hill Road. It's reported that it was approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is where it starts to get really wonky. Summer's asleep in the truck. She gets Candace gets the boys supposedly to help bring groceries in from the truck to the house. You're right, cosplay. You're right, but it fits in. It fits in. You have a household of three adults. I'm counting Candy because she probably got groceries as well for her house, her being in the trailer. Although she may not have been able to have a lot of groceries. This still fits in though, because you have 4 growing children. You have 4 growing children that are anywheres from preschool age all the way up through preteen aged in the household. They're going to want milk. They're going to for cereal. And now just going on a normal household. And I'm not trying to say this is a normal household in any way. To have a couple gallons of milk for cereal or something to drink, to have a need for a stock of groceries that was from everything reported was would have been way better for a normal household than what they actually had. And them coming back with and putting groceries away. So I don't dismiss that it's there's a good chance and that it fits in with the Summer Wells on June 15th, that photo. Yeah, they didn't have a so the dorm fridge that they're talking about is very fitting for Candy and the size of the trailer that she had. It wouldn't have had a very large capacity, and the way that was configured, it wouldn't have been able to withstand a very large draw or power draw either. Phoenix, yeah, when we're saying this gets wonky, it gets really wonky. Um, it wasn't the average size refrigerator that you would expect to have a household to have. It was a smaller refrigerator and freezer. I would say larger than one that you would expect to see in a dorm type of somebody having in a dorm, but it wasn't. It was about, I would say, half that, half the capacity, maybe three quarters of the capacity that a normal person would have in their home for a family that the of two adults and four kids. It's um, there is a line of brand name line, and I don't know the brand name line off the top of my head that makes these size refrigerators. And it's really for somebody that has designed for somebody that has a large camper, right? A large camper or a one bedroom apartment where they wouldn't have, you know, a what would they wouldn't go out and buy what some people would buy, and go through in a week's time. Whereas that the same amount of food that they could buy for that family that size would last that individual 4 or 5 weeks. That's the size refrigerator that they had. So this is where it gets really strange, where they're at the property, have returned to the property, and this is where puzzle pieces don't fit. They just don't fit. No matter how many times, no how many people, how many different people say this was what happened. This is where they do not fit together. In the interview rooms interview, and in subsequent interviews, I don't remember what channel it was on. Summer being asleep on the milk jugs and being in the truck still was an afterthought to her to getting her out of the truck. In the course of events that was described, Summer getting out of the truck or being let out of the truck to get the milk jugs is an afterthought. And what happens is, yes, Carrie, exactly. Timeline is based on what Candace said in H as well. Don the Condor was supposed to get still at work, but we're going to be bringing him back into this picture in just a second here. Not yet on the planting flowers. Don Wells was known, habitually known, to take 2-hour lunches. And if you look, I believe it was my last video, the other live I did, or the last one I did. I talked about why Don Wells takes the Subaru. So at some point, does he return to the property? have lunch, and then goes about the business of what he would normally do when he takes the Subaru. So Don returns home from lunch. Let's just take it back a step. Don returns to home from lunch, has lunch with his family. Maybe that's normal routine. But we're looking at now him being there after unpacking groceries, after um, uh, Candace supposedly helping Candy Grandis with her knee brace. Going back outside after taking a nap to plant those succulents. Which, from the condition of those planters, that never happened. You could sit there and look at it, what happened with the succulents. The rocks are not the issue. Being rocks in the flower beds are not an issue because they're succulents. They're a plant that does not want or need a lot of water. And yes, cosplay, exactly. There were weeds that were months old. Those weren't just weeds that popped up overnight. They were months old. Now, this is where I vary from what other people think in the course of events have happened that day. Whether or not you believe that what I had said in a previous video, or it's a person's about Don Wells and the use of that Subaru. Carrie, you're one step ahead of me. You're one step ahead of me. So this is where a moment that I actually agree with BK. And I was on a live panel with him on John Q channel, or Miss Q's channel, one night. And we were talking about Summer Wells. So we have people back on the property at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is leaving with about a 3 to 4 hour window in the afternoon that nobody has an explanation for. Three-to-4 hour window that nobody has an explanation for other than one account. And that is that Grandis, or Candy, said that after they returned from the property, she was tired and she took a nap. until from that 1:30, 2 o'clock, and again, I'm using a rough time, it could be 2:30 in the afternoon, until 5:30 at night, approximately 5:30 at night, when these plants, the succulents, were actually supposedly being planted around 5 p.m. That we know nothing about what's happening on this property. So Don Wells went out in the morning and he took the Subaru. And by his accounts, when he returned home that evening, he was in a truck. He was in one of the trucks. So did Don Wells go back to work in a truck? Or did the Candace made a trip off the property again and they exchanged vehicles? Just these are hypothetical questions. I have no proof of this. This is an opinion. But something happened in the course of that time that neither Don Wells or Candace speaks anything about. This is where I say that things actually happened, and it wasn't when prior to the 911 call where Candace had said that she went for a walk, that the not on the 911 call they said that the mother went for a walk or a run, and that when she came back the child was missing. Yes, cosplay. He came back in a pickup truck. If you look at the video that he did for the voices on behind the wall, where he went through step by step of what happened when he returned to that property that day, he said he went past the property, the driveway to the property, and went to that lower shed. And he said that I have the Subaru today, so I will be visible, because if I was in a truck like that day, you would not see me. And I'm pausing here just to let that sink in for everybody that's here with me. I know it's been a little bit of a tale to, and I've lost a couple people that have been like, "Wait, no, no way, I don't believe this," or they have had other things they had to go do, and they're not watching any longer. But yes, yes, I believe the video of him, of him showing what he did was on Voices Behind the Wall. I don't agree with that. What their tactics were while they were doing all this. However, I if you go back and watch some of their videos and find, I don't know which video it was. I don't know the title of their videos, so I can't point you to exactly one. But if you go back and watch some of their videos, that is where he said it. He did a lot of driving around for them and showing the area off for them. But when he talks about him returning to that property, he said he had the Subaru on the video so he could be visible to them. But on that day, he was in a truck. He was in one of the trucks. So when did that vehicle exchange happen? when did summer truly get gone? Again, get gone is a very common phrase that people will drop. Oftentimes, I find that when they drop that phrase, they're the ones that are guilty of doing something. And the reason I mention that is you look at what happened with Classic and Sincere. You look at some of the other stories that have been involving children that have been in the national headlines. One common phrase sticks out is that the child got gone. Lisa, did you not catch that one either, or did you get just realize that's what was said? There was at some point on the day of the 15th that there was a second trip made by Candace off the property. And I'm not referring to the trip that she went out and went out walking to look for Summer. This is a trip in a vehicle, in one of the vehicles that are normally on the property. Now, the vehicles that are on that known to be on that property, the ages of the vehicles and the types of vehicles that they are. Everybody keeps talking about Startel. But I'm not certain everybody understands what Startel is. Startel is a system, GPS coordination system with similar to like OnStar. That one of the major car manufacturers, instead of using OnStar, made their own system. And this Subaru used that same system, the Startel system, tracking system. Now, if you look at what the agreement to having this system in your car is, you get the services for a trial period. Whatever the trial period may be, 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, half of a year. That's just a trial period to say, to get somebody to fall in love with the system and then want to have that monthly reoccurring bill to have that system. The Subaru had it. The trucks were at an age where they would not have had a similar system. So the only vehicle that they could track on that day, other than a person having a phone with GPS, would be that Startel system in the Subaru. And whether or not that person has the contract for for that system. That system is still, excuse me for 1 second. My apologies. I'm just going to get myself a drink of water here. I may have been given the wrong name of the system. It could be Starlink, Startel. It doesn't. The name of it's not that important. If you follow what I'm if you follow what I'm about to say, you'll understand that the name of the system is not important. But the system itself, the GPS system, oftentimes when you have that type of system in your car, there is a company that in Asheville, North Carolina, that I interviewed with that does this. And I was explained that system as part of the interview in some detail. Not great detail, but in some detail. So that system still reports to the satellite. The it's still just like a cell phone when you have your location based system on. It still triangulates and pings off of satellite feeds to say this is my location. That's actually very good point that I'm not a expert in any means, and I don't pretend to be an expert in reading a person's body language. I can read some things about people, but body language is not one I'm very good at. So they do go into a much greater detail than I'm capable of. I'm just giving you the framework of a story that I believe that a lot of the details, when you take a look at the story and step back and take a look at it, all the puzzle pieces actually fit right. But outside of this, you put the other details of what other creators or the Don and Candace actually say themselves. The puzzle pieces just don't will never fit right. So this system pings off the satellites, even if you don't have the full details of the service, the contracted service. There are still some details that you can get, such as you can call them up and say, I'm in such and such. I don't know my location, and I'm trying to get to this address or this place, and they will actually be able to send you map and the turn by turn map details, and you don't have to have that contract. You still get that service. That just happened to be the one for the one company that I happened to interview with. That's how they're set up. So what I would the point of that is that that vehicle through this system, just like a cell phone, is still being tracked of where it is. And this is some of the information that the police has taken. It took it take has taken the police a long time to get back, and they've not said they have received it back. And I'm not going to question whether or not they have. It's that this is information that they need to keep private because it's going to prove the case. It's going to prove that who did what, when, what, where, why, and all those lovely little questions that everybody wants to know. So the at some point in the day, there was an exchange of vehicles. I believe that in part of the reason, again, this is my opinion of what happened that day. It was related to a sudden illness within summer, whether it be related to the heat, Granted, I did say earlier it was only about an 81-degree day, but let's consider now that the temperature of an 81-degree day that would not hit the height of the day till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon in this area. In a closed vehicle where the doors were closed, windows were closed, no ventilation, it's possible that heat illness or something happened earlier in the day at the swimming hole happened that caused a sudden illness. And that exchange of vehicles that I was mentioned happened when one parent wanted to take or recognize that that the medical assistance was needed. But instead, another parent who was a more dominant parent or feared parent in the parents' relationship insisted that she did not need to to the hospital, but just to simply bring her down to where he was. And ultimately, it ended up with the demise of Summer. The call to the 911 and the events that happened after that. On June 15th, the police were above reproach. They did everything they did their textbook. They did everything textbook for the circumstances. It's the parents' storyline and the huge gap in the day for what had possibly been a second trip off the property, or the what the parents tell just do not line up with everything that did happen that day. I think that when you take a step back and look at what I'm suggesting, and again, it's only suggestion. I'm basing it off of what is known to be known in public to be facts, with statements that the parents have made and what has been shown, but what has been released by the TBI and the sheriff's department. Not interjecting any sort of "I know this happened" like some other creators try to do. Yeah. See, that's a variation in the timeline because again, you have that anywhere between a 3 hour and 4 hour window, and I'm saying 3 to 4 hours, and that's going from the time that the call was made to 911 to the time that they returned from running errands that day. And I'm saying, I know it might seem like a huge amount of time, that 1 hour difference, but it's because there needs to be wiggle room for traffic lines, delays at the Sonic, because I don't know if anybody's ever been to Sonic. It always seems like 15. It takes 15 minutes from the time you place your order to they start making your order. Little tiny wiggle room things that 1 hour is a huge amount of time, but that 1 hour makes sense to leave in there for that little bit of wiggle room. Cosplay, that's the biggest thing on this is the time. Because from once they return to Ben Hill Road, you have nothing until the supposed time in which they were planting succulents. Their succulents supposedly were getting planted around 4:30 in the afternoon. But even that, when you look at that, the details of what happened that day and the way that it gets told by the parents, by Candace, by Candy, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. And the puzzle pieces don't fit well to fit in. That at the end of what happened, that that poor little Summer, 5 years old, birthday has now passed. She would have been 6 years old. To have gone and disappeared in the manner that has happened. Now, Phoenix earlier mentioned the behavior panel and how they looked at the body language, the behavior of of Candace and Don. If you go and watch their videos, they say that there's enough of them being just off that it raises suspicion. But when you ask them of what that is, they shut down, especially Candace. You have you have Don that wants to be a chatterbox and doesn't want to shut up, especially when you start to mention Utah to him, to the complete opposite, where doesn't want to say a word. Like I said, I wanted to present a story, paint a picture tonight. I didn't want to go into focusing on the details. I didn't really want to sit there and go over timeline. This happened at this time and so on, so because we don't know that information, and to pretend that we do know that information is not healthy. But it's raises a lot of questions where I agree with BK. The afternoon, that 3-4 hour window, and this is the only thing I agree with him on. I'm not lining up with him with other things he said. I'm just simply saying that that 3 to 4 hour window is where everything goes haywire. everything goes haywire. Outside of swimming that morning on a cool day, a cool morning, it's not the time of day I would wanna go swimming. Guys, I that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. As always, every single night, I go live. I leave it open for open conversation at the end. I know that Carrie will, when she gets off her work call, we'll probably have a question or two. So it's open to anybody that is still here to have some questions. This is kind of like a no. Actually, I take that as a compliment. I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much, Lisa. The John Q. I'm not familiar with Scott H. That much, but I take that as a compliment that I can be compared to them, where I want to provoke thought. I want to raise questions, respectfully doing so. And I think that knowing John Q, that's a lot of what he has done. And sometimes, we're not going to solve the case by being on YouTube, as some people love to make us out to be, or we're trying to be. But instead, to sit there and have an opinion and to raise these questions and talk about them and logically talk through them is where exactly where I want to be. Lisa, I think that's partly how you found me. Am I correct? Through John QQ? Thank you, Cosplay. I know that you know me from other channels, and we have actually, Cosplay and I actually were on one channel where we talked about Summer Wells. And in part, this is what her being her coming and joining us and being with us on a live was partly what inspired what the tonight's conversation. That happened 1 month ago, or roughly right about month ago. I just saw that in my live in my feeds that was a month ago. Let me see if I can find it again. Uh, Try to see if I can find it. Bear with me a moment. Um, Oh, okay. All right. Um, but let's see here. But as far as if anybody questions whether what when did I start finding out or following in about Summer Wells, um, it was very early on. I My job sometimes has downtime, um, and I'll do something like throw Broadcastify because I'm nosy like that. To be honest, I'm just nosy like that. So I'll throw Broadcastify on, and when I do so, I'm looking for local channels to where I live, and I happen to catch the dispatch call going out to the police officers to having instructing them to go to 110 Ben Hill Road, purely by coincidence, and that I had found it. Please cosplay. Don't be afraid to ask. If I don't know an answer, um, I'll either try to come get an answer for you, or um, if I know another creator might have that answer or on something, then I'll be more than happy to point that out. So right now, just so uh, let's see here. I believe that night was actually on Miss Q. But anyway, I'm not seeing the video right this moment, and I'm searching on my tablet for my history, but I'm just not finding it. It was about it would have been a month ago Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon. Uh, so I want to say probably it was in March, probably about either the 13th or the 20th. I'm not on TikTok either, so I have no clue. Um, their videos are from what I've seen are only about 2 or 3 minutes long. So other than that, that's only seen what I've seen around being online. There you go. Connection to finding out. Phoenix, I know that you are trying to be very restrained, and that's not your normal. So please don't feel like you can't. You have to hold back and not ask questions because I, much as I hate talking about a kid being missing, if there's a question, I'm a person that loves to research things and come find answers. Are you referring to the video that was of the milk jugs? Lisa, honestly, I only said one couple things in that video when BK was on. I normally do not agree with him, and I took the approach of I'm just going to listen and hear him out and find out what he has to say. It was John Q that mainly had uh, most or Mrs. Q or the other persons on the panel at the time that had more to say than I did. Okay, so I only know of two videos that were from that day. Are you the one from H at the swimming area? I believe was a TikTok video. The other video I know that was taken that was supposedly from that day is of when they were on Beach Creek Road, and it's said that it's a video was taken accidentally of of Summer being asleep on the milk jugs. So are you referring to the swimming hole or the behind the horse farm, the horse pond, or referred to as a horse pond, but it's behind the stables or the one in the truck? Carrie may also be able to say which one it is. Okay, so you're talking about the one where that would have been from H, where they were swimming. Lisa, have a good night. Thank you for joining us. I don't know about TikTok that much. I think that TikTok is a live stream, just like this right now is live stream. It's not where and I could be wrong, that you can upload. I know what video you're talking about. I just don't know the answer with it with TikTok. Carrie, do you know anything about TikTok and whether or not you can upload, or is it all have to be live streamed and it actually captures it? There you go, cosplay. We're finding out for you. We'll find out for you. um, well, like I said, that's pretty much everything I had planned on saying tonight. I've been live for about an hour and 45 minutes, and it seems like I fixed my audio issue because it didn't happen tonight. As always, for those who know how to contact me, I'm mostly on Discord. I do have Facebook Messenger now, because some people did ask me to get that. Um, yeah, my name is just as it appears right here, right now. RJ. Oh, you wanted me to explain horse farm. Okay, so cosplay loves that I refer to Ben Hill Road as being horse farm, and it's something I came up with. It was accidental, actually, when I very first said it. And it's one of those moments where you have just something comes out of your mouth, and you don't know understand why you say it, but as time goes on, your predictive or prophetic speaking of something, the details fills in. Um, there, so the property itself is pretty much a junk property. There's not much use for the property. It's in its current state, and that's not an indictment or any statement on the family itself. It just it's 11 and a half acre piece of property that's pretty much divided by what you have on the upper hill portion, and then you have in the lower hill portion. and it at one time was going to be used as a stable or horse farm. But the way I mean the horse farm is that this property has been used to traffic a lot of things. Whether it's I'm going to leave it as being privately. I've explained this detail of what is okay. So I alluded to earlier in the stream that Don Wells has a purpose when he takes the Subaru and he dresses up a certain way, which is clothing above what he would normally wear for his average day of work. When he's wearing the clothes that are not normal work clothes for his job as being a mutter, and a mutter is a person that goes in after drywall has been tacked up and does taping and does uh, the bond that puts the fill that goes in between the drywall panels. He does that. That's a mutter. Okay. He goes in and he fills those little cracks, those crevices that the drywallers is only going in there, and they're just getting going in, getting the drywall up, and they're getting out. He goes in behind and he smooths over those gaps. His property with when he well, excuse me, when he uses the Subaru and dresses up the in a certain way, it's common knowledge now what he had intended to do. He was at that point going to visit houses of ill repute or and find women to bring back home that night. Not only that, it was he was going out looking for his drug of choice. It's not uncommonly known that he has an addiction issue. But when he dressed a certain way and he went out in that Subaru, he was going out looking for his drug. He not only got for what he needed, but that property, that the property, Ben Hill Road property, was a very common place for people that were also trafficking of drugs to stop in, lay low in this location, knowing that that they were that they were going to be looked after in this holler, which is something Carrie said earlier in the day. You would not go to this property unless you had business to be there. Yes, spackling. Thank you. I could not think of that word. Thank you. Spackling. He spackled the cracks. That's excellent way to put it. So the property itself. Oh, Phoenix, thank you for coming back and joining us. I'm explaining the way why I call that property a horse farm. Well, the property is the horse farm is it's almost like a the old before the post office was a post office type of thing, where this would be a designated place that the horses can go and rewater and get some feed before they had the next rider jumped on and went racing cross country to get the mail to wherever it needed to be. It's a similar type of thing, except for we're talking about the same level of idea with drug trafficking. whether it's people going to use, or it's people that are going to get, or going to meet their supplier, or it's just a pass through location. That's exactly what it is, and the reason I'm comfortable explaining that now is that the rumors that I was hearing from very early on had been confirmed by multiple people that Don Wells had an addiction to cocaine, and that's exactly what I was primarily hearing right at the beginning. I mean, within 2 days of Summer being missing, 2 3 days of Summer being missing, that Don Wells was out looking for a kilo either the day before or the day of Summer going missing. Granted, yes, I'm repeating a rumor, but these rumors have been substantiated with saying that, with multiple people saying that that Don Wells would it was very common that when he went out in the Subaru, he was going for two things, and one of them was to go find a crack house. And that's exactly what I mean by it referring to a horse farm, because there's other rumors that have come out which have only been equated to one person who was up this area visiting from Florida that has actually absolutely nothing to do with Summer Wells missing. I don't even know the person's name, if I did, I don't remember it. Said that there was parties of a certain type on this property. But that is what I mean when I say that that this was a horse farm. It had nothing to do with the horse getting loose the day the broadcast with that Summer Wells was excuse me, that Don Wells and his son was on TV doing the news story with the TBI, because there was a horse running down the road, and that if you watch the background, it had nothing to do with that. That was purely coincidental that that happened. But from everything I had heard and was working on, making sure that it was legitimate, and it's what I called it. Yeah, that church that they did that at was the east end of Beach Creek Road. So you're actually looking back down the road. Now, granted, it's a distance. It's not like it's right around the corner type of deal. It's a distance down the road, a good mile to 2 miles down the road. But that where that church is that they did that from, um, uh, pointing back towards the area where the Ben Hill Road was, and where they were staging the searchers from. But that just, yeah, ironic that had happened, and I was calling it a horse farm. Um, but and that interview happened. Was it the day after? Or it was a couple days after Summer went missing. I believe that that was on Friday that week. Okay, well, there's part of the answer for cosplay that you can convert a video into a TikTok. So you must not have to do everything live. You can actually upload for it. Well, to convert them into uh, being a TikTok, you would have to edit them, I would believe. So you wouldn't have you would be able to upload that later. I did not plan on coming on here and talking for 2 hours. I'm glad I figured out my audio issues though. Um, I need to get some sleep because I do have to work in the morning. So, ladies, I thank you for joining me tonight. And gentlemen, if you were there, any gentlemen that were watching this later, I appreciate you being part of my replay crew and taking a look at this. Again, it's just a theory, my theory and my thought of some of the on the events that happened today, June 15th. I want to thank everybody. I hope everybody has a good night, and I'm out.